listening to Your Money, Your Purpose, the podcast where money meets meaning. Hosted by financial advisors Billy Zarello and Brian Eckert, this isn't your typical advisor podcast. Around here, we don't just talk spreadsheets and strategy, we talk stories, behavior, beliefs, and the emotional side of building real wealth. Each week, Billy and Brian take turns diving into either the technical side of money, like investing, tax strategy, and planning, or the behavioral side, like money patterns, mindset, and emotional clarity. Along the way, they'll be joined by expert guests who bring fresh insight to both. This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not financial advice, and the views shared are those of the hosts and guests, not necessarily those of their firms. Let's get into today's episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome to the Your Money, Your Purpose podcast. I'm really grateful to be here today for my very first solo episode. For those of you who may not know me, or this is your first time seeing me here, my name's Jessie Brady. I am a budget and cash flow coach at Your Money, Your Purpose, and I work closely with women who are building careers, businesses, and lives that they deeply care about. And what I've learned from working alongside so many women is that it is never just about the money. It is never just about the math. And really, it is so much more than that. It's about identity. It's about safety. It's about confidence. And often it is about fear. And that realization is actually what brought me here to be able to share my story with you all today. So let me give you a little bit of background into me. So early on in my career, I wanted to become a financial advisor. I had studied personal finance in college. I really loved the technical side of it. I liked understanding markets, structure, long-term planning, all of that kind of stuff. And I really loved the strategy of it. But more than that, I wanted to help people feel more confident with their money, and I wanted them to feel more understood. So that's really, when I think about it, like that is what motivated me to get into this industry. It wasn't understanding complex financial concepts that was like super, super exciting or anything. It was the fact that I could help simplify this and make it easier for somebody else to understand. That's what lit me up and still does. And what I want to give you a little bit of detail on today is kind of just my backstory about my first experience in the financial services industry. I am a woman in the financial space, and there's a lot of women in the financial space, and especially in the financial advising and financial planning space now, which I absolutely love. It is so amazing. But I wanted to always add something to that. I felt like that was really my purpose, was to help people and help women understand their money better and be more confident in money conversations. I went off to college and I decided I was going to study personal finance, and specifically personal finance. I was so excited. I had this very clear picture in my head of what it would look like when I got on the other side of graduation. However, that all kind of came crumbling down. So my very first experience in the industry was not what I expected whatsoever. I started at a large firm, got this internship my sophomore year, and I got it at this large firm that is very well known, but it was complete shock to me. And it threw me for a complete loop when I realized that this is what this profession was going to be for me on the other side of graduation. When I had this first experience, there was no conversation in the way of money mindset, very little conversation about behavior. There was hardly even any conversation at all about real planning to be had, if I'm being completely honest. I realized that I could not be an advisor that was going to operate this way if I wanted this career. Instead, I found that it was very product heavy. So we were learning a lot about the different financial products that were part of the firm that we were supposed to be selling, their proprietary products. It was performance heavy. It was very commission focused. It felt extremely transactional. And unfortunately, it ended up turning me off completely to the idea of what financial planning was. So the game plan had been, okay, I'm going to intern with this company and then I'm going to go full time after graduation. But I decided that that was not for me. And as a woman entering this space, I was probably like 20 years old at this point. So I'm a young college professional. I just could not shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong with what I was seeing. They were calling it holistic planning, which is still crazy to me because it was the farthest thing from holistic planning. Up to that point, like I had taken financial planning classes. I knew what real planning was supposed to look like. And I'm just watching this happen around me and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm crazy, right? Let's fast forward a little bit. So I had at that point been super discouraged by this internship experience. And I decided that I was going to maybe explore other options. I was obviously going to finish in my major, but after graduation, I decided that I was going to move from my home in New Jersey all the way out to Colorado. It's been 6 or 7 years now. I have had several jobs in multiple different industries, and that's been fine. I've got a lot of different experiences, but I always felt as though my purpose has stayed the same. No matter what, I want to help people understand their money better. And it showed up in these weird little ways throughout my other various jobs. I would talk to coworkers about what they could be doing better, and they were very grateful for it. So in little ways, that has always come back into my life. And I do truly believe that that is my purpose, is to help women specifically understand and feel more confident in managing their money. So what I ended up doing was I kept my day jobs, but I started doing part-time budget coaching on the side with one-on-one clients. And I started with like friends and family. I just loved talking about money. I loved hearing people's stories and what they were struggling with and being able to offer my help and knowledge. Most importantly, I loved that I could do this on my terms. I could educate, I could take it beyond that very superficial level of just recommending a product. It felt organic. And the best part is that it genuinely felt like I was helping the people that I worked with. And that's the feeling I was craving all along. I discovered that what they really needed was someone to look at their situation without judging them or making them feel like, okay, I have another appointment in 10 minutes. This is what I got to explain to you and get out the door. And that's where the mission began to take shape. So let's fast forward again to early 2025. I met Billy Zarrillo and Brian Eckert of Your Money, Your Purpose. They're both advisors, but they are not like any of the advisors that I had ever met or ever worked with. What resonated so strongly with me about the Your Money, Your Purpose mission is that it's about people. It's about helping people. And it's more about just helping the client invest for retirement or to grow more wealth. It is about helping the person in front of you first. And it's about helping clients use the ultimate tool that supports the life that they're trying to build, which is your money. I remember that first conversation I had with Billy very clearly. And to be honest, I was a little bit skeptical. Billy and I met networking through social media, and he invited me for a networking chat. And I was nervous because I thought, okay, here's another, male advisor. What's he going to say to me? If the internship experience shocked me, this first conversation I had with Billy shocked me even more. He actually just asked me what my goals were, what I wanted to do, what I had done, what I thought. He actually cared to hear about like what I had going on. It was simply, me telling him about the goal that I wanted to be a financial advisor and kind of explaining this past experience to him. And, it really opened my eye. I was like, wow, this advisor is thinking differently. He's doing something different. The industry is so quick to jump to solutions, very solutions based. If client A has this problem, solution B is the answer. There's no nuance. It's a lot more complex than that. And I think anybody can see that if you take a little bit of a closer look. But I wanted to help other women feel like they were heard and understood and could have a competent conversation and not feel insecure because somebody has dismissed them so many times in that money conversation. Your questions don't get answered. After working with clients one-on-one in a budget capacity, here's what I know to be true. Systems will beat willpower every single time. If your financial plan depends on that consistent willpower and discipline, it will probably fail. Structure is what's going to create that consistency. And that's why the budgets that I build for people are not just a budget, it is also a cash flow system. So we actually redesign an entire system, an ecosystem of how your money operates on a day-to-day basis. As a cash flow coach, I am less focused on the long-term planning. That's where your advisor steps in. But I focus more on the day-to-day and translating that big giant plan into the day-to-day, step by step, what we're going to do with your money. If you're constantly anxious, reactive, or uncertain, your decisions with money are going to reflect that. Your identity is what is driving the financial decisions that you're making. So we have to look at that identity and mindset piece. If we don't, there's no point in doing any of the rest of it. And that's just simply my opinion and philosophy on money. Something that I've learned through this experience is that, number one, things are not as they seem. And maybe I was a little disenchanted when I graduated college and I stepped into this industry, but I do think that it is important to not just settle for what you are presented with. Like Billy said to me famously in that first call that we had, he said, I think you're definitely in the right place, Jessie. He said, I think you've just been shown the wrong door. And that applies to how women are feeling with their money and then in their money conversations too. Like there's such a parallel there. I think with women who are in the right place, they're asking for help, but maybe you've just been shown the wrong door or the wrong advisor or the wrong person to work with. And maybe you're just with somebody who doesn't truly understand what you actually need. And what you actually probably need is to look closer at how you understand and feel about your money rather than get somebody else to rework your retirement strategy. Big takeaway for me is that your money is your identity. They're both intertwined completely. And if you don't look at one piece, you're missing out on the other. And you have to have one to have the other and have it all make sense. Separate your desire to have stability and secureness from performance or looking successful. I believe that there are all sorts of reasons, personal reasons why you want to get better with money, you want to grow wealth, you want to be wealthy, but you need to maybe reframe it sometimes from, okay, I'm doing this just to present a certain way to other people versus I want to feel internally secure. So bottom line is, I believe that money should reduce chaos and not create it. And working as a cash flow coach alongside Billy and Brian at Your Money, Your Purpose, I just take it to a day-to-day level with the cash flow coaching. We're taking like the advisor's bigger long-term plan and kind of breaking that down into what does that look like in the next 2 or 3 pay periods? How are we going to start really tactically breaking this down and doing small steps to get to that bigger goal? I am going to wrap up here. I'm really excited to contribute to this podcast space now because I believe deeply in the idea that your money should support your purpose and not compete with it or complicate it. I will be on future episodes of this podcast. We're going to be diving into more behavioral finance concepts. I'm going to bring a little bit more of the information about cash flow structure, how I do cash flow coaching, decision psychology, and the systems we use to create that real sense of stability. You'll hear from me, Billy, and Brian, and we're going to be doing some more Ask the Advisor episodes as well, so stay tuned. If you are someone who wants more clarity with your money, you want more structure without rigidity and more confidence, you're definitely in the right place. I am so looking forward to building and being in this space with you. Until next time, thanks so much for listening.